We've heard a lot about the fiscal cliff recently, and we've heard even more about it since the U.S. election as the clock ticks towards the end of the year. That's when tax increases and spending cuts totaling $600 billion will automatically come into effect, barring a compromise agreement by Republicans and Democrats. There's nothing accidental about these looming cuts and tax hikes, so why would American lawmakers impose this? It goes back to 2011 and the ferocious debates surrounding the Obama administration's attempt to raise the U.S. debt ceiling, something that in the past was routinely passed by Congress. But the U.S. House of Representatives had a huge freshman contingent of 80-odd members who were in no mood to compromise and wanted the White House to deliver on cutting the huge deficit, which currently runs around $1 trillion. But they couldn't reach an agreement on dealing with spending. Instead, a so-called super committee was given the job of coming up with a long-term solution, and it came up with the idea of these huge spending cuts, half from defense and half from domestic spending, and letting the expiration of Bush-era tax cuts go through. The thinking was that since nobody wanted to see these draconian cuts go through, both sides would come together to arrive at a compromise to deal with the huge amount of debt. Obviously, that scenario hasn't panned out. And here we are looking at something resembling a doomsday clock, and we're getting closer to that dreaded fiscal cliff. Hope springs eternal, and analysts expect a last-minute deal. If there isn't one, the effect of the tax hikes and spending cuts will not only be felt in the U.S., which would likely end up back in a recession, it'll also affect economies around the world, including Canada's. Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney has said that the fiscal cliff is the most imminent threat facing the Canadian economy. From the Canadian Press, I'm Malcolm Morrison.